Good morning, you beautiful people. You ready for some coffee thoughts this morning? A biggie coffee kiss, man. Yeah, man, I can't get over it. It's so fantastic, actually. I had somebody run into me the other day going, "Hey, coffee kiss, you like it?" Ah, praise God. So this morning I was getting into my ready stages to get ready for my morning message, asking God what we're talking about. And the first thing that happens is I just have this urge to get down on my knees, and I literally thought, okay, here I go. And normally when that happens, it's normally there's normally a certain level of prayer that goes into it, and it's not always just begging God for stuff. It's just there's really a heart that breaks open, and but generally I start speaking and I start praying, and sitting down on my knees this morning was literally, I don't know, it was complete and utter peace and contentment for me. I was sitting in complete silence with my music playing. It was such a wonderful moment, and the only thing that came over me was gratitude, but gratitude on other levels again. And you know, often in the mornings when I ask God, what are we talking about this morning? What do you want to say to me this morning, Lord? This things run through my mind all the time, and then when I stop thinking for a second, I start talking about something, and I go, "Oh, this is what we're doing today. Great!" And this morning, God just goes, "Testify, testify for me, testify, share your testimony." And there's a few things. I hope I'm going to get through it this morning. We'll see how far we get. And for me, there's moments and incidents in my life that would have, if it went slightly a different way, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have been here today. So many times that if I just sit and think about it, that I should have and could have been dead today. I remember at the age of 7 jumping over my neighbor's wall, and his boxer that he had was not a big fan of 7-year-old. Well, I don't know if it was boys or children or just me, but he wasn't a big fan of a 7-year-old me. And that thing grabbed me by the head, and I want to say shook me around like a rag doll. And I have flashes of that day. I think you block things like that out in your life, but if you look at the scar I have at the back of my head from where he's where he's it looks like his teeth slipped up my skull or whatever. I don't know. But if you look at the design of the skull any little bit lower, it probably would have bitten into my brain. I think would have been a possibility. There was an incident when I was in matric, and due to an injury that I incurred, I was not able to take a certain drive with my dad, and he got into a car accident that day. And so, this was actually a funny stage in my life because I questioned God because of the injury, because it was a sports injury before a big cricket match at that stage that I thought I needed to play. But meanwhile, then I didn't know that God needed me to injure myself. Not that the injury is there, but He turns everything for the good. But yeah, there was a car crash that my dad was in, and the image that I remember, that I still to this day, this very vivid image of what that side looked like where I would have been sitting. I'm pretty sure I would have been dead. There's I had my own car accidents throughout my life. I had, all these things in my life that occurred. I have things where I tried to stop drinking and I tried to stop smoking in my life, but that stuff had a hold on me on other levels. I never drank to get drunk. I drank to drink because I made myself believe it's delicious, which it's not really. It does have a nice distinctive taste, some of the stuff, but what it ends up doing wasn't worth it. That sort of thing, especially alcohol. And God came and freed me from it. But I made a decision. I said, God, let's do this. I don't want this anymore. And God came in and He broke that hold, that this stuff on me. I tried to stop smoking and quit smoking for years and years and years. I started vaping. I started leaving stuff at home. But then you just smoke other people's stuff. And in one moment, God just came in and He dropped that thing entirely. I've never smoked again. I've never wanted to. I've never even thought about it. This stuff doesn't even bother me. And to sit here and think about these things, have this overwhelming level of gratitude that comes over me. I keep telling people, one of the labels people had for me last year, and one of the ones that started early this year already, was I'm unrealistic. And I love that label because I serve the God of the possible. I serve the God of the unrealistic, of the realistic man. Because I believe God when He says stuff. I'm not hung up on the things that I can't do. I'm hung up on the stuff that God can do. That's where we need to get our focus. I don't for a moment think that something will happen to me when I set foot outside of this house, well, even in this house, because of Psalms 91, verse 11. It was my favorite verse all of my life. And I'm going to just give you through to 13 as well this morning. It says he will command his angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways, in all my ways. So even the silly goodness and things that I catch on, he will command them to protect me. They will lift you up on their hands so that you will not strike your foot against a stone. You will tread on the lion and the cobra. You will trample the great lion and the serpent. As jy gaan oor goeie loop, man, they will protect me wherever I am, wherever I go. I think more so today because I'm actually living for God, so the enemy brings other goodness. Yeah. And then I get the reminders that God has throughout His Word. He will never leave you nor forsake you. You were created perfectly in the image of God. The Lord Himself goes before you. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. You're the head. You're not the tail. You're above and not beneath. He will prepare a table for you in the presence of your enemies. All these promises. And I must admit, I love it when God comes around and He reminds me of all these things that He's done for me. It often brings this overwhelming emotional overload of gratitude. And an attitude of gratitude is something that changes your heart. It changes your mind. It changes everything about you if you can just constantly remember the things God has already done for you. It also gives you the confidence and the courage to step out in faith when God calls you to go. Man, if I had to tell you the odd times in my life where I go, Lord, I'm out of money this month. Not because I was stupid or foolish with my money, but because I ran out of money, because I'm in a space in my life where I'm not earning for what I need to spend. And this happens because I wasn't paying attention for some time. But now that I am, I'm in a process of getting back to where it's okay, where it's going to be cool, where I'm going to be able to do everything I need to do. But it's a process for me at the moment. It's a journey that I need to walk and that I'm walking with God. But if I can tell you the amount of times where I'm sitting and Lord, it's the middle of the month, I don't have food. I don't know what I'm going to eat. And then out of nowhere, somebody I walk past puts a buck in my hand, or somebody pays a few bucks into my account randomly, out of nowhere. People that I know most of the times. But it doesn't matter who it is. The fact that God does these things. The amount of times with all these things that I mentioned earlier that I should have and could have been dead. But I'm not, but I'm here. And God reminds me that I'm still here. To remind me that He's not done with me yet. Man, and that He chose to save me. He sent His Son, not just that He sent His Son down to carry all our sins upon that cross. He died for you and for me, so we can live free, knowing that we can serve God openly. Oh man, all these things. My friend, there's a life to live out there. God's not done with you yet. You've already written such a magnificent story, and God is going to write a magnificent story with your life for what's coming. Life isn't just wake up, work, eat, sleep, repeat. There's a life to live in there. You have a life to live in there because you're busy writing a story. And don't for a second think that the things God has done for you might be tiny testimonies. Don't ever believe that. That's what the enemy wants you to think, is that it's useless, nonsense testimonies. Don't let him lie to you like that. Your testimony is important. Your testimony, that little testimony that you think is nothing, could be the one that saves somebody's life today. Could be the one that changes somebody's life today. Could be the one that gets somebody to Jesus today. You, my friend, are the disciple that God is sending out into this world today. Share your testimony of the greatness and goodness of what God has done for you. Share it with the people. And sit and take a moment and think about all these things, even the little things that God has done for you. Because there's plenty. There are so many in your life. And I hope this reminds you of how worthy you are. If God can do these little things for my friend, if He can do these things for me. You know that saying, and I'm going to leave you with this last one, I'm out of time. That one man's trash is another man's treasure. Your little testimony that the enemy is believing you is insignificant is the treasure that's going to save somebody's life.